Well, welcome everyone. Darren Saul here, episode 162 of Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast. Hope everybody's doing fantastically well. Midway through the week and everybody's busy. Now, today I have the great honor of having Anthony Bowers on the show. Anthony, how you doing?
Darren, I'm doing very well. Yes, midweek, we're pumping through the week. Looking
Yeah,
forward
time is
to,
just
to
flying.
Friday and the weekend. It flies by.
Absolutely.
I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on your wonderful podcast for, what was it, episode
Episode
162.
162.
Gracious.
I'm waiting to break 200.
Well, I'm happy to help you get there, sir.
Oh, thank you. Now, topic for today.
Mm-hmm.
The remote hybrid workplace of the future has no location barrier, which is a
Yeah, I would agree with
fantastic
that.
topic. Absolutely. And for
Yep.
everyone out there who doesn't know who Anthony is, I thought I'd give you a little bit of an intro. With
Yep.
more than 20 years' experience in Asia, predominantly in China and the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony is an HR and BPO expert in the region. He has built dozens of high performing teams based in the Philippines for clients around the globe. He is extremely adept at working in cross cultural teams and loves to motivate and get the best out of his people.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, welcome again, mate. Really looking forward to this topic.
Thank you. I think it is a very interesting topic for current times and what everyone is going through regarding COVID and the hybrid workspace, and what does the workplace look like for the future, and what does remote working hold for us?
Absolutely. It's kind of like, it's almost like part two in a way, because part one, there's been, business process outsourcing for many, many years and VAs for many, many years. But now over the last 2 years and the use of Zoom and the technology and the remote, the habits of remote working, it's almost expedited that even further, hasn't it?
Not to make light of the situation or be flippant about it, COVID has been a dire and terrible thing
Sure.
for the world.
Sure.
But undoubtedly, we can also say that COVID has led digital transformation for the world. And who'd have thought
Yep.
that some terrible epidemic has led to this incredible digital transformation? I was in an event just today called Strategy Fest. I'm not part of it, so I'm not advertising or spruiking, but I did want to say their name, the Strategy Fest, because it was the first time where I had a more enjoyable experience online in an event than I would have had physically. And I'm a big networker, as you know.
Wow.
I love getting around and meeting people and handing out cards. And I have to say, I was very skeptical about online marketing, which is funny given that I'm a remote working person, but I just love the physical nature of meeting people. They knocked it out of the park. It was an absolutely fantastic experience. I'm certain that COVID has driven that.
And what
I'm
was so good
certain.
about it? What was so brilliant about it?
First and foremost, they had wonderful speakers.
Good. Yep.
That's for sure.
Always a start.
But then they had it really worked out regarding the networking side of things, which is really big for me. So I go along to events primarily to network.
Yep.
I hope that I can learn something from the events as well. I think that's a very important part of it, but I am there to network and to meet other people.
Yep.
And they really did a fantastic job of facilitating that in a seamless manner.
Brilliant.
So fantastic content. There were some heavy hitters. I mean, you'd expect it. I mean, the global strategy head for Google and head of general manager of Microsoft and stuff. These are some serious players.
Yeah.
But it was managed well. It looked great. The ancillary services, I don't know what you would call it, around the event was spot on. So they got the UX really, really right. The UI and the UX of that event. And that's the first time I've felt that. Every other online event that I've been to has been clunky and a bit weird. And do we network? Do we not? Like, what is it? How do we do it? All a bit. It was all a bit. But this was a professional.
Awesome. Because as you just mentioned, now, like, it's an opportunity now to be able to execute and deliver those kind of events to an incredible standard, because that's what we have to do.
And to change people like me, where I shouldn't need changing, given what I'm doing, as I said before. But there it is, where I've been dragged kicking and screaming to an online seminar, an event, going, gee, I wish this was at the ICC so I could meet people. And having my mind completely changed. So there we go.
Nice, well done. So
Yeah,
let's
strategy first. Well done.
let's chat a bit about your background. I'd love to hear more about. First of all, where are you? Are you overseas or are you here in Australia?
No, I'm in Australia. I'm in
Australia.
DY, the great
Okay.
south zone of the Northern Beaches.
Nice, nice, nice. DY, I love it.
If you remember the lockdown,
We do.
so
Yes.
we got in the south zone. It's hard being away from my team.
Yeah, yeah.
In the Philippines. It's hard being away from the people that I care about and love in Hong Kong and China and such. Yeah. At the same time, I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else.
Okay. Great.
DY wasn't a hardship posting when it came to COVID.
Yeah.
The other element to it is a marketing thing for me that I can hand on heart say that my company runs better when I'm not there, which doesn't say a lot about my business acumen, but it just does. So I have a very strong general manager and client engagement manager that run the company. I could go to Mars tomorrow, no one would know, and that's good. And it's shown that remote working just works. That's the other thing that's been very telling in a post-COVID world, that it can work and it can work well.
Yep.
And then it's just figuring out whether it's the right thing or not for your company. And I'll go back to something that you said previous about, outsourcing has been done for years. I just correct that and say, well, not correct that. I'd augment your comment and say that outsourcing has been done for centuries, right? When you made a book, when you wrote a book in your monastery or wherever you were writing books, that manuscript was sent to a bookbinder.
There you go.
That's outsourcing.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Now, in our particular, if we're going to get granular in it, and I'm doing this hopefully as a form of education for your listeners, my form of outsourcing is called offshoring.
Yep.
And offshoring is, as it states, is outsourcing but offshore. And it's fascinating because it is an industry where you can put a timestamp on it. So in the Philippines, in any case, was 1992. Makati, Accenture was ground zero. That's where it all began.
That's when it all began. 1992 in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the realm of the big players. Your multinational corporates with their massive IT budgets and such. That has moved into different segments and different markets due to technology. Mm-hmm. So your technology, as it moves to the cloud, you are then free. Those location barriers don't exist anywhere, Darren, except in your mind. Your accounts are done in the cloud. Your marketing is probably a SaaS product. LinkedIn, you can manage your LinkedIn from Goa.
Yep.
Right? Quite seriously.
Definitely.
If that is the case, then why would you only look locally for your HR? Some people say that because it's a patriotic thing. My answer to that is that there is nothing patriotic about being bankrupt. You are not helping yourself, your company, or your country by being inefficient. Mm-hmm. We're told by the powers that be that we must compete internationally. We're told that because barriers and free trade agreements are bringing protective barriers down. That means we're being told to compete with international players. If we're being told that we must compete internationally, then we have a right to source the product of our production anywhere. And if that product of production is a staff member based in the Philippines, so be it. We have every right to do that and to do it with pride.
Absolutely.
We know that when we make companies more efficient by having their staff offshored in the Philippines, that we grow the local company. They hire more people locally. Mm-hmm. So this idea that we're taking jobs from Australians and betraying our country is a total of nonsense. And I'm saying that also to educate your listeners to let them know that if that was a barrier to you looking offshore, please throw that in the rubbish bin of ideas where it belongs.
Yeah, and I suppose you could also argue that certain functions might be really useful to be offshore, and certain functions might be better served local. So by using outsourcing to perform certain functions, you're actually allowing your company to grow to the point where you can invest and hire local people for those roles that are needed. So it's a win-win.
I have a glib marketing slogan that I don't like, but I'll say it anyway, because it does sum up that point. And my marketing comment is, if it is not core, do it offshore. I don't really like it, and I'm trying to come up with something better, but it does get to the point.
Yep.
You didn't start your business to do accounting unless you're an accountant. You didn't start your business to do LinkedIn posts at 2 in the morning.
Yep.
You didn't start your electrical business to get quotes done at 3 a.m. in the morning, which we come across all the time. So when you go to sleep, 4 a.m.,
Yep.
What are you doing? Quotes. So that's fascinating. What about your family life? I don't have one. So that's also fascinating.
Yep.
And not good. Fascinating in a really bad way.
Yep.
I totally agree. What you want to do is get your really high valued staff, wherever that is, if it's Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, the US, to do high value tasks.
Yep.
Makes sense. To do marketing tasks, to go out and meet people and greet. I still think that's a very big part of it. To do really high value tasks, and all other tasks can be initially offshore. My caveat to that is that eventually the Philippines, and I say Philippines, so that's the only experience I know when it comes to offshoring. They will also move up the ladder in what they're doing for the company. Our goal is that eventually the Philippines team will be feeding back information and knowledge to the client, that it's not just a repetitive rote work and doing this. It may start like that, but eventually they will move up in what they're doing and actually be a source of information, knowledge, and strategy for the local client. That's where we love to see things going.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm sure it will. And I'll drill down a bit more in a minute, but I'd love to
Sure.
just hear your story. How did you get into this in the first place?
You did ask me that, and I didn't answer. I was performing a politician's trick on you, Darren. Answering. I led a very cloistered lifestyle. Life or lifestyle. I grew up in the North Shore, and I went to North Sydney Boys High and lived in Kirribilli. And it was a very sort of local existence. I had a very eccentric father, though, and he made me learn Mandarin since I was young, and that was that thread through my life.
Yeah, wow.
And I'd been up to China quite a few times. Actually, first went to China in 1982 as a young boy.
Wow.
With my mum. Yeah, I went to a commune, and we were allowed into Canton, is what they called it in those days, for 2 days, and it was quite something. So that had been a continual thread, and I went to China in 2001 at the very beginning, January 2nd, 2001, something like that. It was meant to be for 6 months, and life happened.
Wow.
So I was married, I had a kid, divorced. This was all in mainland China. I lived a long time in the farms in rural China. Wow. So I was in the city, but I spent probably half of my time in the farm. So I've seen that very rural heartland of China. So that's a very deep impression on me. I then moved to Hong Kong, became a Hong Kong permanent resident, which I'm very proud of.
Amazing.
And part of that in the last 8 years has been a Philippines element, where I started working for a large business process outsourcing company north of Manila, and 5 years ago started my own thing in Cebu with a lot of hubris and ego. I'm happy to say that the ego has been eviscerated and scattered to the four winds, but brought back together and rebuilt, hopefully as something better.
Excellent. What a story. I love
So that's my story. And then was thinking of coming back to Australia anyway for family reasons, was here for the accounting and finance show in February 2021. And that was that.
Here you go. And so so most of your people are in the Philippines, is that right?
They're all in the Philippines, all in the great city of Cebu.
Gotcha.
We're proudly a Cebuano company.
Wow. Fantastic.
It's
And how many people are we talking?
very small. So we've got 40 people at the moment.
Okay, it's not that small.
To put it in perspective, Concentrics have 280,000. So we're still a very small, we'd say a boutique offering for clients. And
Lovely.
I'm happy with that. And we do want growth, but we want it to be slow and steady so that we're getting the right candidates for our clients and being able to service our clients properly. We do a number of different things. We're agnostic as far as the roles go,
Yep.
which is really interesting in that we have a foundation client where we're doing 24/7 customer support for them. And they've recently started to look at us to do software development. I have to correct myself. We don't do software development. We find software developers
Gotcha.
for them. So that shows the agnostic nature of the roles.
All right, awesome.
So that's me.
Amazing. What a story. I mean,
Yeah.
and obviously, you're an expert in this area. You've lived and breathed business process outsourcing and
Yeah.
offshore help. Where do you think companies really can use this model to their advantage, and where do you think it might not be so useful? Are there any times when you say, look, I don't think we're for you?
I'm going to take my time thinking about an
Sure.
answer to that one. We are always of use where there is an HR gap.
Okay.
I would say that's where we're of use. And this HR gap can mean many things. It could be that you're a single operator and you're looking to try and expand, but you can't because of different reasons, maybe costs, maybe other things. Then that's where I believe that we're very, very useful. It can come via lack of resources. So if you're a software development company, it can be very hard to even find people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a company looking to rapidly scale, then offshoring is a great solution for you. If you're looking to scale without huge risk and overhead, then we are a great solution. For people that are not ready for it, I would say that the companies that we come across where they're only looking to cut costs are not the right people for us.
Mm-hmm.
We think that I call it the mind wobble. Right? I know that my industry only exists because there is a price difference.
Right.
That's it. Simple as that. I don't think it should be the case. I think that people should be quite happy to hire a Filipino person at the same rate as an Australian person, and you're just hiring the best talent. And we hope that eventually the world becomes like that it's a global marketplace for talent, generally the same price around the world. And maybe I don't have a job anymore. Fine.
Yep. And it's all becoming one big global marketplace.
One big global market. I have no issue with that at all. Yep. Why shouldn't it be the case?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Why shouldn't a single Filipino mother feeding 5 kids have the exact same right as someone in Maroubra?
Absolutely.
Have a decent life.
It's all about the talent and the skills.
It's all about the talent and the skills. What do they bring to the company?
Yep, absolutely.
Going back to what I was saying before, that we know that it's about costs, but we know that if a company only focuses on costs and doesn't focus on all the other areas, that it will fail.
Yeah.
If you don't look at, for example, what are my processes? It's business process outsourcing.
Yeah.
If you don't know what your processes are, good luck outsourcing it.
Yeah, you can shrink all your costs, but if your business is not running properly, what's the difference?
The great thing is that you find that out straight away. Not great for me as a business, right? Because it can lead to a lot of problems. But it does shine a light on it. It shines a very strong light on a business's processes, their quality control, their run books, their manuals, their workflows. And if they haven't got that sorted out, they cannot outsource properly. It will be a disaster. So I would say that would be the main thing. If a company hasn't sort of looked into that, or at least if they don't have a focus on that, we don't want them. If they know that they've got issues and we can help them with it, great. We're happy to do that.
Okay, awesome. And something that I've always been fascinated about is, what about the question of, intellectual property or identity or confidentiality. How do you make sure that that's protected when you give someone the password to your whatever, or you give someone the keys to your books, or you give someone? How do you manage that and reduce the risk of any issues?
Yeah, I mean, it's the number one issue with offshoring. I say would be data privacy.
Yeah.
There are many ways that you can do it. I mean, depending on the level. So there are certain software controls that you can put onto a computer to monitor the activity.
Yep.
If there is certain keystrokes that are happening, then that will be flagged, which is very important. You can block the USBs of a laptop, so the data can't be taken out, and which is our default position. So we're more secure than local workplaces in Australia. That's what's stopping the person in Australia putting their USB in and taking it out.
Wow.
So it's something to think about. And then it gets a little bit, there are different areas that you can move into. We can work on a virtual private network, so the data is just kept in one network that is secure. Then it gets really tricky. So we put together a large team for a bank, and they were naturally super concerned about data. So the team was citrusing in. So they had terminals. Those terminals were accessing data in Australia. The data never left.
Right.
The only way that they would be able to take data would be to take photographs of the screen.
Of the screen. Yep.
But then they're being monitored 24/7.
Wow. And I suppose then there's, I'm sure there's non-confidentiality agreements and all sorts of other things as well. And
that's the next part of it. So we have very strong clauses in our contracts. We like to be a good employer. We like to care about our staff and help our staff. We also have a very strong commitment to our clients' data, and our staff know that there'd be really, really serious repercussions if there was ever a data breach.
Okay, so
and also between the companies have a contract. So Tallant has a contract with company A. We'd be in a lot of trouble.
Okay, wow. I mean, talking about just the industry in general, since I think you mentioned it started in 1992, is that right?
Yeah.
How has it changed over the years? How has the actual formula or the model changed over the years to where we are right now? Have there been any massive, jumps or massive progressions, or has it all just been a similar model with little tweaks?
There's been massive changes, and in many different ways.
Right.
And there seems to be waves of it. For the Philippines, at the very least, we've taken a lot of business from India, for example, in voice work, and in software development.
Right.
India is still extremely strong in other areas, are strong in software development and tax and accounting, but the Philippines has done very well in voice work. That's been a change just in where is work done.
Yeah.
And we've seen different centers grow up. Eastern Europe's very strong on software development. Vietnam's very strong on software development. So different areas are becoming specialized in different skills. And that's a basic principle of global capitalism, that happens. And we're seeing that in the offshoring industry.
And that's actually a really good point, because I do some photography work, and I found, I use sometimes some freelancers, and I found the freelancers, the graphic and artistic freelancers from Eastern Europe are fantastic.
Eastern Europe, that's really interesting. I thought you might say Indonesia.
Okay.
Graphic design is exceptional out of Bali.
Oh, really? Okay.
Exceptional. We've got some graphic designers ourselves that we think are also exceptional, but Bali has a reputation for quite brilliant.
Wow, all right. I'll have to check that out. That's fantastic.
That's very interesting, isn't it? The Eastern Europeans for photography. That's fascinating.
Yeah, excellent.
So that would be it. The other changes, I would say, I don't think that the model of delivery has changed that much. So there are different ways that an offshoring experience can occur.
Yeah.
Right. It can occur through a direct hiring through one of these websites like Outsourcely and Freelancer and Fiverr or whatever it is. And I have no problem saying their names, Darren. You're probably wondering, why am I saying the names of people that potentially are a competitor? Well, this is something I figured out, that they're not our competitor. They're our lifeblood.
Absolutely.
Right? Outsourcely and Fiverr and all of those make our clients, right?
Definitely. It's
And the
almost
reason,
like it's the same analogy of when you go to a
yeah,
strip full of restaurants, one next to the other.
yeah,
You tend more to go to that than just one restaurant on a corner in the middle of nowhere.
100%. And for
Same
us,
thing.
what it is, it gives people a taste of offshore,
Yeah.
and normally fairly successfully. It's normally people that have had an experience, maybe a few issues, but it's not a disaster. I would have thought that it was like the only people that would come to us is that they've had a disaster with a sort of a direct hire.
Yeah.
It's not. They what they've done is that they've used these companies, and they're now looking for a management to go on top. So like, I've used it as successful. I've got it cheaper than I would have if I was using a BPO provider, but now I just want someone else to manage the whole thing for me. And I want to get on, because they're getting into the trap again,
Yeah.
of working in the business, not on the business.
Exactly.
Right. And if you've got like more than one VA that you're hiring directly, you're starting to work in the business again.
Yep. Yep.
So that's where we go. And I finally figured that. So now I'm like, thank you, outsourcing. We love you because you help people get into what we do and then provide a ramp to a different type of service.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And how do you, I mean, what's your philosophy in how you manage and inspire your team of 40 people, especially when you're not there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's more, how do I inspire the executive team, right? So the actual production work that's done day to day is based on the clients, and we also want, the entire Tallant family to feel that they are part of the family and that we're doing good work for our clients and being a source of pride for the Philippines and indeed for Cebu.
Yeah.
A business has to have a clear vision. I think it's called, I don't know how to pronounce it probably to the Japanese people and Japanese speakers. I apologize.
Yeah.
I think it's called ikigai,
Yeah.
right? I may have completely shredded that pronunciation. I apologize. And what I love about it is that it's the reason for being. What is your reason for being? There are all these circles and Venn diagrams. There's a thing, the middle is your purpose.
Yeah.
We know what our purpose is as a company. My executive team knows what their purpose is as a company. That feeds through to the team leads, to all the staff. Funny enough, it's slightly different to my purpose, which is really interesting. My purpose is I want to create as many great job opportunities for people in the Philippines, and we love hiring women as well in the Philippines. Have to be careful what I say. I don't want to get into gender bias or anything like that. But my background, the reason my Tallant started was because of seeing some of the horrible abuses suffered by Philippines and Indonesian women in Hong Kong, who are domestic helpers. And I was like, well, if we can hire just one who doesn't have to make the choice to go overseas, then we've done good work. And we've hired quite a few in our time. So that's my why. And I guess it is the same alignment as Tallant itself as a company. That's the why we do what we do. Now, you may have thought the why was to help our clients. Yes, that is actually a residual effect of our why.
Yep.
We want to hire great people and give them great careers, and then they will do awesome work for their clients. And we found that to be the case. If people know the why do they get up in the morning, then just fantastically loyal. And I'm so proud of my team of how resilient they've been during COVID. I will say that it was tough, right? We did lose a lot of clients in 2020 because people could only work from home, going back to data privacy, even though we
are some of those clients coming back?
I hope so. Some of them I'm not sure, but we've had growth in our client base and we've had new clients come on board.
Okay.
The main thing was they were really concerned about people working from home. They couldn't get around that. Yeah. I was so happily surprised at how well it went. Right? I thought this is going to be just terrible, right? It can't work. It's all over. So I can admit now in hindsight, and of course I never said that, to the staff. They don't want to see the head worrying about these things. It's like, we're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. But inside I was like, wow, how will we get through it? Really well. So the infrastructure in the Philippines in some areas is not wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think that for internet and data, it's pretty good.
Okay.
And it's shown to have worked pretty well during COVID with people working from home without major issues. So I'm really proud of the way that that's all held up. Yeah.
And I can imagine that you must be received extremely well by some of the local community and family members that are, because you're giving people work opportunities in a lot of these places.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Wow, thank you so much.
I hope so. I'd like to think that we're seen as a good corporate citizen, and we do work at it. Yeah. I think just broadly, yes, the industry has been a good one for the Philippines, and we're really proud to see the Philippines and Philippines companies move into different areas. So we're seeing a lot of Philippine fintech coming out. We're seeing a lot of homegrown Philippine software development really showing their stuff on the world stage. We're really proud of that. And I'd like to think that the BPO industry helped nurture some of those people and nurture some of those companies and nurture the environment that allowed the Philippines to thrive and show their talent on the world stage.
Love it.
We also work at the corporate responsibilities. We've partnered with a school called Pusok Elementary.
Okay, nice.
It's a school for itinerant workers. I've been out to their where they live. It's confronting. So they're the type of kids that aren't allowed into malls and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's really hard. So we've done a lot of work with them. We a very poignant and learning experience for me was we had an event where we ordered Jollibee. It's not the world's healthiest food, I don't think, but it's very big in the Philippines. I love it, way better than KFC. Sorry.
What's it called? Jollibee.
Jollibee. Jollibee. It's great fried chicken if you're into that.
Great.
Yeah, I love it. So we did it, and the kids weren't eating it, and I was like, I spent a lot of time on this. We put a lot of effort into this. Why aren't the kids eating it? And they're like, no, there's no way they'll touch it. They're gonna take it home and share it with their siblings.
Oh my God.
And that really is like, oh, wow. Okay, now I get it. So that was a real experience. But we've done other things like hand out school supplies and books and school in a box through Rotary's help as well. Nice. My next big thing is that I'm looking to get a couple of laptops. Apparently Google have some software that helps Frankenstein these laptops, something called Chromium or something. I don't know. I'm just about it. We're trying to get some help from them to set up a little computer lab for these kids. Hopefully that will help some of them in the future. So we're big onto that.
Well done. That's beautiful. Great to hear.
So again, it's small percentages. If we can help just a few people in the right way, then if there's enough of us doing it, we can have a big impact.
Absolutely. And I wish you the best of luck with that, because you're
doing
some great stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done. So tell us
as well as providing excellent service to our clients. Let's not forget.
Let's not forget about our poor clients.
I'd like to say, if we can do well as doing good, happy days.
Yes, I like that. I mean, I'd love to hear more about Tallant itself. Tell us a bit more about any areas of specialty. Are there any particular ways that you prefer your clients to engage with you? Give us a little bit of a rundown into Tallant.
I wish we had a speciality, Darren. It would make my marketing way easier. And we'd like to get there, and maybe we will once we're at, say, 100 staff, that we'll have enough to be able to move into a certain area. Right. I'd say our speciality is the HR component itself. We are getting very good at that. And so, for example, in my time in the industry, I would have hired over 100 software developers easily.
Wow.
So even a very experienced CTO or senior team lead there's not going to be many of them around the world that have hired as many software developers that I have. So while I'm not a coder myself, although I have got onto Code Academy and played around with JavaScript and HTML and all that sort of stuff, I have learned a fair bit about how do you hire good developers? How does that process work? So we're becoming specialized in the area of all aspects of HR across the entire continuum. So we're not just a recruiting company, although that's a big part of what we do. We're also housed in the staff. We're building that team culture, that talent culture. We're doing all the payroll, doing all of the grunt work that goes around staffing, and the clients love it because they get a great staff member that's just producing work for them. Everything else is taken care of by us. They get an invoice. Everybody's happy. Now, of course, it doesn't always work like that. And there's bumps along the way and ups and downs, but generally that's the experience of our clients.
Nice.
If there was a speciality, I'd say it's software development, graphic design.
Interesting. Okay.
Was accounting. We lost a big accounting client during COVID, which was harsh. So we had 15 accountants banging away.
Wow.
That client,
So
and
you
it was a really good experience.
You brought up a really good point, though. So it sounds like, you have so many people on hand that clients can access.
Yeah.
But as well as that, if they need you to hire specific skills from outside and bring them in, you can do that as well.
Well, yeah, and I'd say that's what we do.
That's more of what you do. Okay.
It would be. Now, if we're bigger, say that we are at 100 seats, the technical word is bench. So if we're at 100 seats, we'd have a bench. We'd have 5 to 10 people that are just there doing work, whatever, that can be immediately picked up by clients if needed. Mm-hmm. And that's quite an advantage. At the moment, we're finding staff on the remit of our clients.
Nice.
They come to us and say, I need this type of person to perform these processes in this role.
Right.
And we do that. A little bit of trial and error, because a lot of the time what the client tells us they want isn't actually what they want.
Yes.
So we have to
There's always a bit of to and fro, and it's
a
work in progress.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
We get there through a process of refinement.
Yeah. Which is actually quite interesting, because not every outsourcing company or BPO company does that. A lot of people will have more people on the bench, and that's mainly who you access rather than you going out to hire on the remit of your clients.
Which harks back to the boutique nature of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a 10,000 seat call center with pink plastic chairs and chipboard desks and swinging lights. And that is not us. We're at the very, very A grade offices that we pay a lot for, but we want staff to feel good when they come in to the office. We want it to be a fantastic place. We want them to be proud of where they work. And yes, it is a boutique thing for the client. So it's very much tailored to what is the client looking for. And we go off and most of the time find that person. Some of the more tricky roles we can struggle with, but there's generally such a wide talent pool in the Philippines that we do.
I'm sure. What's the population of the Philippines?
Oh, that's a good idea. So I always put my foot in it, but I'm going to say 76 million. And I'm going to go to Google. We're going to Google it right now.
Yeah, please do. My God, 76 million.
I could be completely wrong.
Wow.
Well, I am in the wrong way. 108 million.
Wow. Incredible.
Wow. That's incredible, right?
Incredible. I mean, just look at that from a skills and talent point of view.
Correct.
108 million people to choose from.
And we want to provide those people with every opportunity to thrive and succeed.
Wow. Well done. Well, Anthony, I love a good story, and my audience loves, a good case study in a way as well. So I wonder if you could tell us a story about a client that might have come to you, maybe with a negative connotation or negative aspect to what you do, and then you've totally turned them around and they're just absolutely loving it, and business is as good as ever, and they would never go elsewhere. Or any story that you think of would highlight.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them. I'm just trying to think of the best one.
Good.
There are a couple. So my favorite one was when I started in the industry. So I can't name any names because it's with a different company. But these were some hard hitting lads from Sydney in the telco space.
Uh-huh.
The hard hitters. These are serious adult people,
Yep.
and they've been dragged kicking and screaming to do kicking and screaming.
Yep.
Towards the end of it, they just had such loyalty and bond with their staff. Still there. It was a wonderful rollout. The Philippine staff just knocked it out of the park. And I was always so proud of that, because we very much changed hearts and minds. And I always think of that rollout with a lot of pride. And to think we've made the world a better place because we've broken down barriers and we've put aside preconceived notions of what people are and what they're capable of, or the judgments that I think just come naturally. I think everyone does it. And those were put aside for a very successful rollout that's still going for that particular company.
Well,
and the other ones are when again we're exceeding expectations. So I remember it's accounting client. It's not a good example because they eventually left us because of COVID. But I remember the very first time I spoke to the owner of that company, and he was very sort of wary and dismissive. He's like, "Really? Can they really do work?" I'm like, "Mate, they can. I mean, they're very educated. There's a very good education system in the Philippines. There's a highly educated people that can do great work." And I love seeing that team's progression where it started as only back-end work, doing auditing, to client facing.
Oh wow!
And I love that, because I often hear that, we can never do client facing. So it's like, yeah, well,
yep.
You say
give it time.
that,
Give it time. Yep.
Give it time.
Yep.
Give it time. Once you get comfort, you can, because there's great English. Again, the Philippines has dominated voice work.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of business from other areas of the world, voice work, because they have better English. As simple as that. A lot of my staff have better English than I do.
Yeah.
They have a better understanding of grammar. They have a clearer pronunciation.
Yep.
It's great. So those are the areas that I love, where we've shown that the Philippines can do to the very highest level, where we feed back into the home client, where we're sharing knowledge and giving opinions and strategy, etc. That's where it really I really love what I do.
Oh, I mean, it definitely, you can see it. It's, your why is very, very obvious. It's not just about, it's not just a business for you. It's about giving back and really making a difference to people's lives.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's why I get up in the morning. I, of course, want to successful.
Of course, have to run a business. We all do.
Was that not? Yeah. Steep learning curve, Darren. Steep learning curve, and I'm still learning how to try and run a business properly. Luckily, like I said, my general manager and client engagement are very happy that I'm not there to get in the way. They're just they're running the business very well without me. But our why is very clear. We're here to provide good, decent, white collar careers for people in the Philippines.
Nice.
That resonates through our company.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And do you have any prospects to maybe start to move beyond the Philippines, or that's enough for you? You think?
That's really interesting. Yeah, we do. I was going to bring it up in an earlier part of the talk about, I forget what the nature of that we were talking about, something about skill sets or something. We do eventually want to be able to service, say, the French speaking community, and maybe German or something like that. Now, we have to look elsewhere. So it could be Africa.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It could be Africa. It's most likely Africa is the next step.
Fascinating.
That's in a year or two, and we will find somewhere, and hopefully there's an established BPO community. If there's not, we will start one. So that would be where we want to go. Potentially to Bali for graphic design, because it's just so good.
Yep.
Could be an area for us. And it's also about where the clients want to go, because often clients want to visit people. Yep. They may not be so keen on visiting a far-flung place in Europe. Getting them to come up to Bali, probably, not exactly a hardship.
Yep.
Travel assignment. So that also plays a
That
factor.
makes sense. Oh, well done. Well done. So, Anthony, tell us a bit about where and how people can find you at Tallant.
Well, sure. They can come to the website,
Yep.
which is Tallant, which is spelled Tallant, Tallant.Asia.
Love it.
I'm Anthony, so people call me Ant. I'm not exactly tall. It's pronounced Talent and spelled, and in fact, is pronounced Talent itself. But just not the talent we wanted. We wanted Talent, but the URLs are all gone.
It was taken. Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's great. Tallant. I like that.
Talent Asia, go and have a look at the website. We've got videos up there of our staff and some of the work that we've done with Pusok Elementary and clients that we've worked with, so you can get an idea about our business. We're on all the normal social media, like LinkedIn and Facebook. If you type Tallant, Tallant, you will find us there.
Love it. And rest assured, I'll make sure I put all those links in the show notes.
Thank you.
So the audience can access them. No problem at all. So I would definitely, if you're looking to hire some people overseas to help you with your business processes, have a chat to Anthony at Tallant, because it's clear that he loves what he does and he's good at it.
Darren, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to be on your 162nd.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I really, really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. Anything you'd like to leave us with before we finish up? I'll give you the last word.
For the last word will be the first word and that we spoke, and that is break free of your chains when it comes to HR. Do not chain yourself to location. If you can find great talent here in Australia, go for it. It's fantastic. We're not a fan of having 100% offshore. We believe it's a hybrid future, a mixed future of people having local teams and offshore teams working together as one team.
Beautiful. Well done. What a great place to finish. So, Anthony, Thank you so much, everyone out there. Anthony Bowers from Tallant. Check it out. And we'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.